you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, if giant hand came down from the clouds and you know, lit something on fire with a lightning bolt, and a booming voice came out and said, "I'm Yahweh, but you know, fear me." And if I could turn to the next guy to me, and he said, "Yeah, I'm seeing this," and we both hadn't been walking in a, you know, an opium patch, then I think.
See, I was going to use peyote in the desert. That was going to be my.
Yeah, if we hadn't already ingested 4 tabs of acid, then.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's fair. That's
right.
fair. Yeah, and I'm on the same notion. I think one of the assertions a lot of people, one of the people believe about atheists is that there's all this evidence around us and we're blind to it, that we don't want to see it. And the problem is that the evidence that they used to present doesn't hold up. It's just, you know, the Bible is true because it says it's true. That sort of tautology.
Right.
But for me, the evidence would be a lot like yours. Is that, you know, someone appeared who had godlike powers, you know, made the sun split in half, something crazy, and then put it back together. Oh, that would be it. So we got Mike from Seattle back on the line. All right, let's see if we can punch him through.
Mike, are you there?
Mike, are you there? This is Casey and Casey.
Hello, Casey and Casey. You guys are doing a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Compliments are great.
That's the nicest phone call we've gotten all day.
Yeah.
Thank you. What do you got for us?
I just want to say most of these people who claim to be Christian or Muslim, whatever, they never read the Bible or Quran. They are Christian or Muslim because of their parents who are Christian or Muslim.
Yes.
They didn't even choose their own religion.
Right.
So why don't you ask them a verse from the Bible? They don't even know.
Right. You're touching on a very interesting point there, which is that most people are in the religion that they're in by virtue of where they grew up.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Very true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I tell them. You know, at least I chose what to be. You just following your parents.
Right.
Without knowing what it's in it. So most people are irrational, man. You know.
Right. Yeah. We agree. You know, I think we had one caller before, and I would say, I mean, not to try to insult Layla, because I think her beliefs were sincere, but I would consider that to be an irrational belief, and I think that many people hold the same belief, that they want to attribute goodness, but not good but not evil, to whatever they consider their creator to be, and it is an irrational belief, and I think most people don't consider it well enough to understand that, hey, this logically does not make sense.
Yeah, I think one of the things you have to consider is that a lot of people consider faith to be a virtue, and that is even in the sight of overwhelming evidence to the contrary, they continue to believe in whatever they believe in.
Do we still have you, Mike? We still have you? I think we dropped the.
Okay, let me just continue.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So even in the face of overwhelming evidence to the contrary, people still believe they have that virtue.
Right.
And the truth is that faith is a cop-out. Faith is a way of you know, I can't explain this. It's, you know, I have no evidence to support what I have to say.
Right.
So therefore, I'm just going to believe, and I'm not going to respond to you anymore.
Sure.
because I believe, and that's the facts, and that's the way it is.
Right.
And faith is like the ultimate cop-out. It's saying that I don't have evidence and I don't have anything to back you up. Anyway, the call had made reference to the fact that most people don't read the Bible or the Quran.
Yep.
And one of my favorite examples of that is Leviticus. And in Leviticus, you know, that's where you find most of the discussions regarding homosexuality and how homosexuality is a sin.
Sure.
And you know, so a lot of people who are Christian, they'll point out Leviticus as, you know, why homosexuality is wrong and immoral.
Right.
The problem is that just a few paragraphs away, also in Leviticus, it also says you can't eat shellfish, you can't wear clothing of 2 different fibers,
right.
you can't trim the edges of your beard.
Right.
You know, further on in the Old Testament, it says you have to kill your children if they mouth off to you. You have to kill your neighbor if he works on the Sabbath. There's a whole host of things in the Bible that people aren't doing, but they're happy to point out homosexuality as immoral, or, you know, like, you're doing wrong, but, you know, don't look over here because I'm not doing all the rest of the things I'm supposed to do in the Bible either.
Right.
You know?
I think so. Our mutual friend Mike Gillis he calls it the big Rorschach test, right, where you get to look into it and you get to interpret it, and even though literally it doesn't have to make sense, either you don't know which part is interpretation, you don't know which part to take literally, but you kind of look into it, and each person gets to see whatever else they want to. And I think Leviticus and certain parts, especially the laws, as they call them, was it 216 or 217, and they're mostly pronouncements about lifestyles. Most people just know the first 10 and they forget about the rest of them.
They gloss over the rest. It's just, you know. They'll use some sort of out, like, well, this is modern times. We don't have to live that way. That was for ancient times when people didn't know better. And I'd like to see where in the Bible where it says, you know, like, you know, by the year 2000. By the way, you can skip the rest of these.
Just ignore this, guys.
Yeah.
Don't worry. We don't want you to cut off any heads anymore. It's fine.
Yeah. Anyway.
Right.
So anyway, back to epistemology.
Right. I think that So the next point I was going to go in to say is that there's this great quote that I found for this lecture, and I think it's crucial about understanding knowledge. It's that some aspects of the world may be within the limits of our thought, but beyond the limits of our knowledge. And faced with competing descriptions of them, we cannot even know which description is true. Some aspects of the world may even be beyond the limits of our thought, so we cannot know from intelligible descriptions of them, let alone know which particular description is true. And this is kind of the thing that we are faced with as limited beings, where they're big. The universe is big. Certain parts of it don't make sense. Certain parts of our existence don't make sense, and certain things seem contradictory. So we have to use this belief as a tool. We actually, even us atheists, have to, and everyone else has to use beliefs as the fundamental way to understand the universe, and then build upon those beliefs in ways that hopefully make sense to us to try to build our core worldview to make it so we can survive and hopefully live in concert with the people around us. But it's those competing descriptions that I think was relevant here, because can you think of a better? I would probably have a hard time thinking of a better example of competing descriptions than like the Islamic God and the Jewish God and the Christian God.
Yes.
They're not all fundamentally at odds with each other, but certainly the core doctrine as they're expressed by the believers are at odds with each other. For us, we just, for things that do have contradictory descriptions, that should throw up a flag for you.
Right.
That should say, oh, if there's no consensus, then how could it ever be absolute? And that's what Plato was really trying to say. He was trying to say, people have this idea of knowledge. Oh, it's totally true. If you know it, it's true. It's totally and absolutely true. But what Plato is saying is, no, it's actually just belief, and you just pack that belief with as much evidence as you can, and hopefully, if you're an honest person, if you find new evidence, then you can revise that, But to claim knowledge as being something that's absolute, and to claim the fact that you, being a paltry, limited human being, can ever actually know something in the traditional sense, totally and completely, well, I think you need to show a little humility as a human being, because everyone's been proven wrong.
Casey, that's a great point, because if faith is a virtue for believers, then the notion of changing your mind in the face of overwhelming evidence is absolutely a virtue of non-believers.
Right.
What you have is contradictory to what I believed. You've proven you wrong. I've changed my mind.
Right.
That looking at life in a very non-dogmatic way
Right.
is absolutely a virtue of atheists and skeptics.
Right.
So anyways, I understand we have a call.
Yeah, let's try to fit one in.
We don't have a lot of time, so let's see what we got. It was Josh, right?
Yep. Josh from Snoqualmie.
Josh, you're on with Ask an Atheist. What do you got for us?
Oh,
you hung up?
Well, man, we're getting bites. It's just like we're fishing.
That's the perils of live TV. That's what,
Yeah.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. So, anyway, you were saying?
Oh, okay. So we were talking about competing descriptions. We talked about the Rorschach test. The one thing I wanted to test you was on your belief. I had this, where is it? Oh, the nature of belief. So if I were to tell you that I went to my friend's mother's birthday party this last weekend, would you believe me?
Yes. Yeah, that's reasonable.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're just based on my own word, based on you know me, but you weren't there.
You're reasonably honest. I didn't know where you were last weekend, and that seems pretty conceivable. Sure.
Right. Okay. Now, what if I told you that it was her 1401st birthday? Would you believe me then?
I wouldn't.
Right.
I wouldn't.
And why wouldn't you believe me?
Because, well, the lifespan of human beings, and it pretty much stops at that. Yes.
Yeah. So basically, what happened here is that your force field of disbelief came up here when you found a claim that seemed so absurd on its head. For you to say, wait a minute, this doesn't fit into any of my experience. I've never heard of anyone other than maybe in a story, maybe in a science fiction story, or maybe in the Old Testament, of someone living to 1,400 years old. But what separates the first claim of mine from the second? What is the difference there? And it's really because of that innate sense that you have of being able to bring that force field up and say, this one just doesn't sound true.
Yeah, it's plausibility. It's just, what's plausible. And, like we all have our innate little, we do our little mathematical calculations to figure out what's plausible and what's not. All right, something on the big board?
Tennessee.
We got a call called. Their name is Tennessee. That's great. All right,
That's awesome.
So let's punch Tennessee through. Tennessee from Federal Way. You're on Ask an Atheist. What do you got for us?
Yes, I have, you show me in the Bible, tell me